everybody, welcome to Ellis Mowers. I appreciate y'all watching. Seen a lot of push mowers here on the channel, just kind of plugging away through them. The next one here is a Murray 20-inch, 3.75 horsepower. It's the mulching deck. The deck for a Murray of this deck type is actually in pretty good shape. The mower overall is. I think it'll run. It looks like somebody has put a replacement wheel on the right front, which I'll replace with the correct wheel. And it's going to need a little bit of pull rope work. It's got the old style pull rope deal with the ball bearings on it, and it's not recoiling very well, so I'm going to oil it up. I'm actually going to take it all apart and oil it up on the inside. But the rest should be pretty standard, probably a diaphragm, a pull rope, blade sharpen, and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Before I give you a walk around of the other mower, some of y'all saw this as well as a push mower if y'all are a loyal follower to the channel and seen this back here. It needs some sort of it's got low compression or rings or something like that. I can't even get it to fire, and when you pull the rope you can barely feel it. The valves are moving like it's supposed to. That's going to be hopefully in a future video getting an engine swap, because that deck is good, but I won't waste any more time on that. We'll go ahead and get started on this one right here. I'll give you a walk around and then we'll start fixing it. So what it is, this is the mulching deck that Murray carries of the era. This is an older one, not necessarily old, because we have the primer bulb set up for the classic type engines. Except this one's they called it the Sprint, I guess, since it's a 3.75. I think it was a 3.5 classic, 3.75 Sprint, and 4 horsepower Quattro at the time, I think is how they staged their engines. So before I even attempt to start this, because I don't want the pull rope, return spring, recoil spring breaking, because this doesn't spin freely. It does spin freely, but I feel a lot of resistance, is we are going to take that mechanism off, which one of the first videos I ever did on the channel, we fixed one of these. If I can go back and research it, I'll put it down in the description below. We'll do it in this video as well. But this has, I guess, the regular 7-inch wheel. Somebody put an 8-inch self-propel wheel on this, which actually looks like I can salvage. Even the teeth are good on it. So we'll take that off and we'll put a correct wheel on it, whether it's gray or white. It will be good. One of the most common places that these mowers rust out on these is in the left rear. If you have one, they like to rust out back here in the left rear. This one appears like it's got a little surface rust, but it does not have any holes, which is a good thing. This blade, or this wheel's a little loose, so we'll have to tighten that up. Let's look under the mower. We'll have to put an air filter on it as well. Most likely a primer bulb while we're at it. Nothing to be alarmed of there. Yeah, so if you look under the mower, you can see there's a couple of things caked on over here on the rear, but nothing crazy. Blade just needs to be sharpened, just the old typical Murray blade. It's got a little bit of lift for mulching, I guess. It's not a high lift blade, but it still works fine. This one, it looks like the spring is not broken on it, but I do have to push it back in so that this flap doesn't move around. I don't think the spring's broken. Actually, it might be. Yeah, I think the spring is broken, because if you look right there, it broke right there. So I don't think I'm going to be able to accomplish that, unfortunately, because it's not going to be able to pivot like it's supposed to right there with the tension of the spring. That's okay. We can screw it on, or just let the flap kind of do its thing, because I'm thinking that whoever buys this probably is not going to care whether it mulches or not, and will Just want the grass cut, and that'll actually provide an avenue for it to discharge. We'll see. It will need a toggle switch. I will wire up a toggle switch. It does have a handle, but I don't think I have a cable that will fit the handle. I will check. If I do, I'll put it on there. But if not, we won't worry with it. Let me get it on the bench. We'll go ahead and take care of this pull rope first. Alright guys, I have a blade stop tool right there holding the blade on. You will need something to keep the flywheel from turning when you do this. Really should not be terribly difficult to do this. So these two screws just start here. To take this little air guard off. Sorry, I got an issue with my screwdriver there. The magnets looks like it's trying to pop out of it. Anyways, that gets you to this point. I don't know if I've tried this before, but I have one of these. Yeah. So, go-kart racing used to run in my family, so they used to run these old 5-horse Briggs all the time. This is a specialty tool. You don't have to have it. What you do need is a set of big channel locks or something along those lines. And that works just fine. I gotta get a 15/16. And in theory, what this should do is when I loosen this up, it should just pop that cup off. Perfect. Like I said, you could probably pull it off with some pliers. I have done it with pliers before in the past and when I originally did this video. So that takes the whole shebang off. One other thing you can do, I guess that's if you want to replace it, clean it, whatever, or if you need to check the flywheel key, which we'll go ahead and do while we're down here. It doesn't feel like it's got a bunch of compression, and I forgot, you have to check, because I think this has got the semicircle flywheel key on it. You have to check inside the flywheel. This is so easy to get off, we're not going to worry about it. But here's what happens. You can see you've got some rust in the ball bearings. If you don't want to take this thing completely off, you can just pop this cover off and do it while it's on the mower. But if we're going to just, we might just douse this thing in starting fluid. Not starting fluid, but lubricant. Just get the ball bearings nice and lubed again and clean that area out there. And that should get us to what we need to do. Because we just need it to go smoothly. Actually, I might just put this back on the mower, truthfully. I thought I had to do that, but I don't. But y'all got to see a cool specialty tool that I have, which is a tool that is honestly one of the very few specialty tools I have here. Like I said, I'm just dousing this thing in lubricant. And the tricky part is you have to get all the ball bearings back into place before you can put this back on it. Because if you don't, not going to be very easy. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. One more over there. Let's see if we can get this on here. We're going to lube that inside there too. I just think the rust has kind of gotten to it a little bit. So we'll leave that, put it back on. Perfect. See if we can get these things to lock into place. No. One thing I'm interested to see is if I could put these ball bearings on the starter cup here. It's been a while. I'm going to have to go back and research my own video. How about that? That lubricant is nasty, though. Oh, of course, we just lost one in the... There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see. Oh, I'm an idiot. Just put this back on. Just put the balls in like this. Boom. 5, 6. This has turned into a horrendous how-to, isn't it? And there you go. So that's what it does. It spins around like that when it's running. So again, much, much, much better than before. We'll put this cover back on it. Right. I'll tighten this back up. There. Right on. So, see, we're doing a lot better now. And then put these screws back on. And I'll go ahead and put the cover back on after I put those screws back on, and we'll test this thing out then. Hopefully we got enough compression. Alright guys, put it back together, but I have no compression, so it's one of two things. Either the connecting rod is blown or one of the valves is seized open. If it's a valve, that's easy. So let me give a look at that. I already started taking the head bolts off, but let's get it back on the bench, see what we got. Alright guys, let me show this to y'all. So I took the little valve access cover off here, and there is what looks to be almost tar and sludge in the engine. That's crazy. Let me wipe my hands off. But let me show you this, because sometimes when these engines sit, this is not the first one of these Briggs Classics that have done this. This, I believe, is the exhaust valve on the bottom, right? You see it moving back and forth, doing what it needs to do and all that good stuff. Well, you see the intake valve up there? Not doing what it needs to do. That thing's supposed to be opening and closing. It's stuck in the open position. So I don't know if we can spray a little bit of lube in here, lubricant, to free it up, and then just try and push the valve back. Nah, we're going to have to get into the head on this one, it looks like. Because... yeah, we're going to have to get into the head on this one. We might have to give it a few taps. But I think if we can get that going, we'll be good. The recoil is working well. So it's a bunch of 3/8. I've already started taking them off. I'm going to go ahead and take the remainder of these 3/8 bolts off. And then we'll go ahead and pull the head. We'll just pull it spark plug and all. Why not? Because we know what we got to do. And we'll go from there. Alright guys, let's pull this head off. Again. Okay. You can take it off without having to take this whole throttle plate and everything off. Oh, you know, bleeding like always, right? Gotta take this 3/8 off too, I forgot, for the cover. Should find, I believe it's the intake valve that's open. You can see all the crustiness in here too that we need to clean out anyways. But of course the viewing's not easy to see there. The intake valve, the exhaust valve is seating, but the intake valve's not doing anything. And just look at all that junk that's in the engine right there. Just straight up sludge. I don't know what it would be. So this head needed to come off anyways. What I'm going to do, I don't know if the angle's good enough. I'm honestly just going to take a screwdriver or something along those lines. I'm going to spray some lubricant inside the valve. And then I'm just going to see if I can tap it back into place. Because it's a combination of, I think, the spring not wanting to return and a little bit of crud in the valves. So, grab a socket and grab my hammer. Alright. See if we can tap this thing back. Or if it's just straight up screwed, you know. Make sure that the valve is not in the open position. Oh, it is actually. Give me a sec. Alright, so I don't know, guys. This one may not be. May not be able to come back, unfortunately. We'll find out though. Let's give it a couple of taps. Oh, there we go. So I should just be able to do a few repetitions of that and be able to get it to where it'll open and close for us. Yeah. So this almost looks like the spring doesn't want to recoil on me over here. Excuse me. So if that's the case, then I've got a spring. Oh. Let's see. No, that's the guide. Almost like there's a bunch of junk down there. I don't know. Because usually the spring will pop back into place. And the end cap and all that mess. I have another specialty tool, and if I need to replace one of these valve springs, I've got that other one that I showed you at the very beginning of the video that I can rob the valve spring off of. Because I think, let's see when I hit it back if it'll recoil. No. So I don't think that's going to do anything. Because that right there is supposed to recoil, and I wonder if it's been pressed in for so long that it just simply will not come back. That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, I think that's what's going on, guys. Because the spring's not retracting. Like the exhaust spring. Does. It's almost acting like it's got the wrong intake spring on it. Let me do a little bit more investigating and a little bit more digging, and then I'll return. Alright guys, I'm going to show y'all showcase all of my tools, apparently my specialty tools. This is a valve spring tool for a flathead Briggs, and what I was able to do is push that valve spring tool in and get the spring unclamped right there. And so now, because I would like to clean the valve out of it, I'm in the process of taking the valve out, which is, as you can see, it's pretty crusty. So we'll give that a wipe down, put that back in. I do need to do a little bit of research because I've never really used a valve spring tool before, and it's been probably, honestly, close to 5 years since I have done this on an engine, and I don't remember it being very easy, but then again, I didn't have a specialty tool at the time. So I'll give this valve a wipe down, and I'll continue, and I'll let you know what I end up doing with this thing. We're gonna get this thing back working though. Alright guys, we have had success. And I want to thank another one of my specialty tools. It's my valve spring compression tool. What I was able to do is take it and put it on the intake valve right here, push the valve spring out of it, and then what I did is pull the valve out, because then you just should be able to pull the valve out, and then simply just compress the spring back just like a glorified C-clamp, and then there's like a little area where you hook the spring onto it, or to hook the little valve cap onto it, and then slide the cap in there past onto the intake push rod. You slide that in, and then you can release your tension on your valve spring tool, and it popped into place. So that was a beautiful thing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, let me show you what it's doing. It looks like it is working as it should now, which is great. Which means that we should have compression on it when we get everything back together. However, I do need to do a little cleanup job on the head, and I do need to do a little cleanup job on the cylinder here for this to work. Once I get this back on, we should have compression. It should run. I will make sure it's got some oil in it. And we should be good to go. So I can go ahead and put this cover back on. I might have to put a new gasket, but just for testing purposes. I'm just going to go ahead and put it back on for us. And I'm going to do a nice cleanup job on the head and whatnot, probably with a wire brush or something along that line, just to get it nice and pretty. Same with the head. When I get everything clean, I'll show you that everything's clean, then we'll go ahead and put everything back on. So I've still got some of this Super Clean left over from where Super Clean sent me some products in the fall. I used the foaming action on this, and all I did was use the foaming and then wiped it off, and that is how clean I was able to get the cylinder there. Obviously I do have a little bit of crud around the exhaust I want to dig out. Just hit it with some brake cleaner, and then I did have to scrape a little bit of this head off here, but really not too bad. Hit it with one more shot of brake cleaner just to get some of that crusty mess out of the way there. Alright, I'll go ahead and put this head back on. We'll get it down and see if we have compression. Alrighty, y'all, so I pulled it. I don't know if you can hear it. It has a lot more compression than it did. It has some oil in it, so I'm just going to see if this thing will fire up. What do y'all think? Hopefully we've saved it. Hope we've saved it. All right, so kill switch is off. I might make sure it's not pulling crud up into the spark plug, so give me a second. Might have to try a different plug here. I really, excuse me, I really think this one runs. Still got a lot of water and junk and whatnot in the head. So, next step, I'm going to go ahead and replace the carb diaphragm. Video's kind of getting long. I've done that on a lot of my previous videos, so I'm not going to worry about showing that. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll show you what's in the gas tank because it's pretty nasty. And then we will put fresh gas in it and see if we can get this thing to run on its own. That's enough for me to know that it will run, which is a good thing. If it runs on its own, I'll run it real quick for maybe a minute. Take it over here, dump all the oil out, sharpen the blade, and do all the other good stuff I need to get this thing ready. Alright guys, I don't know how well I can show you this, but you can kind of see, there you go, a little bit of rusty crusty in there, and a little bit of corrosion right here on the where the intake is for the screen. The screen on the carb looks a little dirty. This is by no means the worst that I've seen. I've seen stuff that's been rusted so bad and crusted so bad that it's actually worn a hole right here in the gas tank. So I'm going to get the water hose. I'm just going to like purge all this rust out of here, wash it all down, put the new diaphragm on it, and kind of scrape some of that corrosion out of it. That way that intake is clean. And then we will put a diaphragm on it, and the next time you'll see this, I'll have everything back on and we'll give it a test shot outside. Alrighty, a moment of truth here. Put a diaphragm in it, it's priming. Clean the gas tank out, it looks pretty clean now. So I'm going to prime it a couple times and see if it'll kick over. I think it will. I think either the plug's got a lot of water on it or it might be fouled. I'm going to try a couple more times and then we're going to switch the plug out if it doesn't work. I know it's an issue with the like I said, either the spark plug or something in the spark chamber, because it's trying, but it's like water or debris or something's interfering with it. Best we got so far. Alright guys, so I know it's a bunch of crap in there, that's why it's not doing it. Every time I want to stop you, I feel like I'm going to be able to get it to run. So let me give one more try and then I'm going to cut y'all off. Excellent, excellent. I didn't want to run it long because I need to change the oil out, and I'm going to throw some seafoam and stuff in the oil to help clean that up. But that's all we needed to know. It runs. It does seem like it's running a little bit fast, and I don't know if it's because of the, I think it's because this governor arm is a little bit rusted on. So I'm going to take the pull rope off, which I can do real quick, and we'll see if we can lube this thing up. It's a cool little mower here, guys. Cool, fun project. Yes, that governor arm is actually very stiff. So let me grab a 1/4 inch and actually it's loosening up a little bit as we speak here. But I'm gonna get a 1/4 inch and just lube that up as well, and then I'll go ahead and do an oil change. I'll go ahead and put a pull rope in it, and we'll see if it runs any better this time. Alrighty, new air filter, new primer bulb, pull rope, put some seafoam in the oil, and new oil. So let's see how it runs now. Also kind of freed up that vane a little bit for the governor. Better in the RPM department. very nice. So let me, I'm going to go ahead and do a wheel swap to a smaller tire, or a wheel, free up the height adjusters, tighten these things up right here so that they work like they're supposed to, and see if I can find a cable for it. A lot of things that I've done in previous videos. This one's getting pretty long. I hope y'all enjoy the specialty tools. I'll clean it up and I'll give y'all a final look as to what I've done to this mower. Alright guys, there's the finished product. I will show you around before I started the things that I did to it. Apart from the full tune-up, pull rope, oil, air filter, I did, like I mentioned, swap this wheel out. It actually was an 8-inch wheel on it, on the front, because I measured it with all the others, and I did not have an 8-inch that looked like that style, so I just put this style on it. Works beautifully, rolls great, no issues with that. The left rear, I did a little bit of work to. What I did was I ended up, because this bolt was rusted in here, this is one of the, it doesn't look very rusty, but it's one of the most lubed mowers I think I've ever had to do. You probably see a little bit of welding wire there still, but I took a welder and wedged a washer in between the, I guess you can call it the height adjustment and the actual blade mechanism there. I'm going to throw this away. I'll toss this aside before I get it in the driveway. And so the wheel is a little cockeyed, but it is tight, much tighter, and the mechanism's tight. And the washer's not going anywhere. All the height adjusters work on it. I was able to fix this spring, kind of rig it up so that that right there was able to hold the bagger down. I just put the spring up through there, just kind of coiled it up, and then pushed the rod through. I did damage the little locking nut that they have on these, so I just tack welded on the a little bulb on the edge. That way it's not going to come back out. So a bunch of little things. Again, I've also found, I thought I had one, and I did, a Murray cable. The throttle cable, I just made a fixed throttle. The throttle cable on this was bad, but the bale cable was good. So that's an added bonus. I didn't have to put a switch or anything on it, which was great. So I think this is either a $50 or a $60 mower. I'm really pushing to make my $50 mowers $60 mowers this year, mostly because the cheapest mower that you can buy is like $150. That's of, just basic nature. So that's why I'm pushing to get a couple more bucks out of my cheap stuff this year. We'll see what happens, and let's get it started and show you how smooth. This thing runs really smooth too. We also fixed the recoil in the beginning, and I got to show y'all some special tools with the intake valve. Running so good. I mean, that's about where it needs to be running RPM wise. It's got the little exhaust on it. year date code is a 96. 98902 model. So I think RPM wise it runs pretty good. Maybe it could use just a little boost, but honestly it works very well. Considering where we started, fighting a bunch of rust, not only on the outside of the mower, and not really, I mean the deck and whatnot's really not too bad. It was just like the hardware and stuff. So looks were a little bit deceiving on this, but we were able to get it going. So we had a little bit of rust in the pull rope mechanism, had to free up the wheel adjusters. We had a bunch of like corrosion and rust that messed up that intake valve, and so y'all got to see some of those special tools that I have that I really don't get to break out very often. And I got to break out the valve tool, and I got to break out my little recoil tool. I didn't really need the recoil tool, but I figured it was kind of fun to use and just kind of show you how it works. So a lot to do on this mower, in addition to a service with that intake valve and having to clean the head and all that stuff. But we went from a lawnmower that had no compression with a barely operational pull rope to a perfectly good mulching mower. The deck's still good on it, the blade's still good on it, everything's still good on it. It just needed a lot of lube and a little bit of love to free up. So I appreciate y'all watching. I hope y'all enjoy this content. Let me know. I don't use a lot of special tools, but y'all have a lot of special tools in your arsenal that turn out to work really well. I'm trying to build up my tool arsenal slowly but surely, and just trying to find some hacks or to share this right here on the channel. So thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this mower flip, and I'll catch you on the next one.